Okay guys, get ready.
Hi, this is Rex. Welcome to episode 25 of Petong Points Podcast, a podcast to promote, inform, educate in all areas of the grand game of petanque and generally in the most positive light. In this episode, we look at a unique training program on YouTube. We cover some results, hear about a David and Goliath encounter in Montmartre, discuss a rule or two, welcome Peter Wells on an issue of scoring, and more. So relax, get comfortable, and soak it all in. I found a fantastic series of short training videos on YouTube by the world champion of petanque, Sylvain Dubreuil. The main attraction and difference with these training videos is that they go not much longer than 1 minute. By their very nature, then, they are simple and concise, yet full of excellent information. There are over 30 instalments, covering the very basics to mental agility and how to make those left and right curves on the piste, which I try to do, but very dangerously. These productions come under the Creative Commons license, so I'm able to give a sample on this platform. The series can be found in French, but there is a version with English voiceover. They are videos, and we are not. But here is a sample of what they sound like.
Hi shooters, now we're going to talk about correct shooting technique. The first thing, whether it's the feet or the shoulders, you absolutely need to be lined up with the objective. Then, I advise you to have your legs a little bent, to give you a touch more flexibility, especially for the moment when you're going to release the boule. Lastly, it's the swing that's going to make the difference. It'll be a lot wider compared to pointing. So, what I advise you is to take aim for a second at the start, do a slow swing down to be more accurate, and then to swing back up more strongly to get more power. Shall I show you? And it's your ability to reproduce the right technique that will improve your regularity. See you soon, shooters.
And here's another.
Hi, my pointer friends. Now we're going to talk about the high lob. That's the most difficult technique to do when pointing. It requires you to throw the ball at a maximum of 1 meter from the jack, or even to land beside the jack. So you need to give the boule a lot of height. The interest being that on soft surfaces, made of earth, you're going to completely control the terrain, because the boule is hardly going to roll at all. If it's a short distance, say between 6 and 8 meters, I advise you to lob from a squatting position. To do that, I recommend you visualize the curve that you want to give your boule so that it falls as close as possible to the jack. On the other hand, if it's a long distance, between 8 and 10 meters, lob from a standing position. So, be aware that it's the most difficult skill to execute in petanque, and that 100% of people who've managed it were completely relaxed when doing it. See you soon, pointers.
And one more.
How do I get a boule to slide, and why? On smooth terrain, the ideal thing is to get the boule to slide as much as possible. Why? Because the higher you throw it, the less you control it, and the boule will travel far because it's going to roll. How do I practice getting a boule to slide? Well, I place a circle as a target, located at about a third of the distance from the jack. That will allow me to visualize the landing spot to get close to the target. The technique is to not throw too high, to push with the palm of the hand, and with enough strength to get up close to the target. So don't forget, the smoother the terrain, the more you need to slide. Bye now, fellow pointers.
The series on YouTube is called Learn with a Champion. But be careful when you look it up, as there is a cooking series by a chef who uses the same title.
Run, girl, run for your life. Quicker than quick.
Mashed potatoes with gravy. That nearly went through my jolly pants.
This was posted by Terry Hall earlier this year on the Trans-Tasman Petanque 2024. Every year for the last 20 years, there's been an international petanque tournament where teams from New Zealand and Australia compete for the title of Trans-Tasman Champions. The event is held alternatively in New Zealand and Australia. The tournament has two divisions, Open and 60 plus. Scores are decided on points awarded for wins, 3 for triples, 2 for doubles and 1 for singles. In 2024, the event was held at the Subiaco Petanque Club in Perth, Western Australia, on the weekend of the 16th and 17th of March. For only the fourth time in 20 years, the Australian team won both divisions. The open score was Australia 94, New Zealand 50, and the 60 plus Australia 72, New Zealand 48. Interestingly, there was a strong representation of South Australian players involved. Whilst on results, here are some from Victoria. And the first is the 2024 South Metro Region Cup. First was Fusion, followed by Weird Dark Blue and then Weird Red. Fourth was Charamel Stella Kilovisk, which is wonderful because I think that's the first time I've ever seen them in a competition at all. Fifth came the hosts Camberwell 1 and Camberwell 2. Seventh, St Kilda Black. Eighth, St Kilda Red. Followed up in last two positions, Mount Martha Magpies and Mount Martha Kookaburras. The equivalent in the region of Northwest Region Cup was Macedon Red came first, followed by Pyrenees Shiraz, Grampians Teal, Grampians White, Grampians Black. 6 were Pyrenees Merlot. I think there's a trend in the name there. 7th, Macedon Blue. 8, the Rockers. 9, Ballarat, and 10, Malden Miners. Smithdale 1 came in 11th, with the Rollers next. 13th, Smithdale 2, and following up with Ballarat Bravo. Effortless gameplay, power of extension. This is from BrightonPetanqueWordPress.com, Petanque tips and tactics. Have you ever wondered why some players are great during practice, but are not able to perform well at competitions or high-stake moments? Well, as you probably have guessed, the answer is nerves and tensions. Doubts and pressure lead to tension, and tension restricts your organic game flow and results in poor performance. Tension is your worst enemy in petanque and in life. The good news is that there is an antidote to tension, and that is extension. Extension is the key element that leads to maximising the power of potential stored in your body and helps eliminate the detrimental effects of performance anxiety, something of which I'm very aware. Think of the swing motion of your arm as a ball on a string, a pendulum, anchored solidly in the centre by your shoulder. Imagine the ball in a neutral position hanging straight down and with its weight causing the string to be perfectly extended. Compare this to yourself standing in the circle, relaxing your arm and allowing the weight of the ball to weigh down your arm into a straight line. The extension you feel in your arm is the action potential of the ball. Bending your arm or the string would require extra force and is to be avoided to harness the full power created by the weight of the ball. Now let's put that power to use. Imagine taking the ball at the bottom of the string, your arm, and pulling it back without causing the string or your arm to bend. The only way you can do this is by pulling away from the anchored centre point, your shoulder, while moving it backwards in a circular path until the string is parallel to the horizon. Think of this process as your backspring. Think of it as a process of a backswing. As the ball travels further up the circular arc against the pull of gravity, more and more action potential is added. At the moment the ball is pulled back to the horizon line, there is a significant amount of power ready to be unleashed by the sheer power of gravity. If we were to let go of the ball at the tip of the pullback, the ball would travel back down along the same circular path past the original starting position towards the horizon point at the front spectrum of the swing without requiring any extra power. If at that moment of the pullback the string, your arm, is bent, or if the anchor point, the shoulder, moves up or down, the swing will not move swiftly and effortlessly along the same circular path by the sheer force of gravity, and that natural momentum will not be fully actualised. So remember to maintain a steady shoulder and allow the pull created by the weight of the ball to completely extend your arm and shoulder muscle throughout the swing motion. Extension is the core of effortless gameplay. As you begin to let go of the tension in your arm and become the string, you will begin to harness the power of gravity and eliminate all unnecessary force from your swing. So when you are in the circle about to make that game-winning shot, first remember to breathe, relax, let go of the tension in your arm, and allow the ball to lead the way. Here is some recent news from AFP. A storied Paris Pétanque club on Tuesday argued in court against a city eviction order, hoping to stay put in a secluded garden coveted by its boutique hotel neighbour. For 50 years, the leafy haven at the top of the Montmartre district has housed the Le Pécamas Pétanque Club, or CLAP, and its 257 members, fans of France's national bowling pastime. The players oversee the upkeep of the 765 square metres of grounds, a rare remnant of the vegetation that once covered the bit, with the city giving tacit approval by hooking up water and electricity. Even amid rapid gentrification and a surge of tourism, the club maintained its Montmartre village vibe, with club access restricted to members and their guests. But last year, city officials warned the non-profit club that it was squatting the site without any authorisation, and it said it would consider rival projects for the use of the public land. The CLAP says it's the victim of the luxury hotel Particulier adjacent to the site, whose owner is a former club member who wants to own his private garden. The hotel recently was given a 12-year contract to operate the site, which the club vowed to fight in court. No work has ever been done on the site by the city, the club's lawyer Sébastien Liberiot told the Paris Administrative Court, insisting the club was a de facto occupant, ensuring a rare green space in the area. Lawyers for the city contended that no contracts were ever signed and that games lasting the night, helping along with clubhouse beers, had prompted noise complaints. More than 7,000 people have signed an online petition to save the CLAP, calling it an essential part of Montmartre, which is hoping to join UNESCO's ranks of protected World Heritage Sites. The hotel's owner, Oscar Comte, told the Parisian newspaper on Monday that he was investing €600,000 to open up access to everyone, while renovating the gardens and tearing down the clubhouse. But he promised to save a few of the pétanque playing grounds and partly reserve their use for CLAP members, but only during the day. The club is not impressed. There will be only 6 grounds instead of 14 now, and they won't be up to regulations, the club's communications director, Maxime Lugier, told the paper. The judge's ruling is expected on September 25, and CLAP has said it will pursue other court challenges. I found the final and absolute secret to winning on the piece every time, and it can be expressed in this Italian fashion term.
Sprezzatura. 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 Adjective. Sprezzatura is defined as studied nonchalance, graceful conduct or performance without apparent effort, an air of effortless charm. Yeah, well, there you have it. That's Sprezzatura.
You ever felt effortlessly cool in an air-conditioned room? Me too.
With that style, you can never fail. Peter Wells is a well-known personality in the world of petanque. He's the secretary of the Victorian Petanque Clubs Incorporated. He's a member of Woodend Hanging Rock Petanque Club. He originated the My Petanque website, which he runs and maintains, and is the star scorer in most tournaments and competitions around Victoria, and a generally all-round nice guy. Here he is on a phone call regarding a particular issue with the Swiss system of scoring at a recent match. Good morning, Peter. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you, Rex.
That's fantastic. Peter, an epistle came out from the VPCI last Monday the 6th of May, referring to a problem at Malden Petanque Club where they're using the Petanque app for the Swiss system. Now, if I quote from your letter, it said, in the final round, round 5, the draw was not as expected and the umpire asked for the draw to be corrected and scored manually, and that was done. Now, I've been in a position before where the draw was not as expected, and that was when I ended up being in the finals for the singles championship in Victoria because nobody believed it, but it turned out it was right. And you go on to say there's obviously an issue with that Swiss system, and it was recommended that you don't use it until you've sorted it out with the authors. That sounds all very intriguing. What actually was the problem, Peter, and what do you think can be done to fix it?
At the time, it went as you said. The umpire decided that it had to be drawn manually because the draw didn't obey the general rules of the Swiss system. And so they drew it manually. I was the player, so up to a point, as much as I'm able to, I kept out of it because
Sure.
I'm not supposed to get involved. And then I think I'm right that they decided to call a jury, and then they found the jury had a player in it that was sort of involved. It did take about, I'm guessing, about 20 minutes. My only comment to Beverly Forsyth, who was the umpire, was if you draw it manually, you'll have to score it manually.
Yep.
And that in the end took about 20 minutes. It just shows that when computer programs work, they save a lot of time. When they don't, then you're back to a manual fiddle.
Sure.
It's a problem. When I got home, I emailed the people who wrote the Petanque app, who I know quite well.
Right.
They come from Germany, explained the problem, and they said they were aware of an issue with their program. Using sort of technical terms, the algorithm they had used turned out to be non-deterministic. Putting that in layman's terms, it means on very, very occasional instances, it can throw up more than one possible solution.
Okay.
And, of course, it threw up the wrong one.
It must have been something major or obvious for someone to recognise that this didn't look correct.
It was very obvious in the end when I looked at it after getting a bit excited. At the end of 4 rounds, 2 teams who had not yet played against each other obviously should play for the 5th round. And that wasn't the draw it chose. George Foster, who most people will know is from Malden, and Beverly scored it manually with me in the background just in case they needed any assistance, which they didn't. But it was a long, drawn-out process to do it manually. It involved, I think I'm right, the change that had to be done involved 4 or 5 games. You know, when you're adding number of games is easy, but when you're playing around with deltas and then you're playing around with the points scored, it's involved.
It would be a headache for me. I think I'd be finding myself walking across onto the other side of the piste, well away from that area. Yeah, just a nightmare, I think, which is a real shame because at the club that I'm connected with, Camberwell, we've very much backed this Swiss system of scoring for when we do competitions for a number of reasons, and we've found it to be popular with our members and other members of other clubs because what it really means, if you're not using the Swiss system, you can end up playing 8 rounds and finishing at 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. Everybody else is gone. There's no one there to see the awarding of the awards and prizes. And people who've driven 2.5, 3 hours from up the country have got to drive home in the dark and fight off kangaroos and things like that. It's a real shame because we find this 5-game Swiss system really, really good. It suits everybody, most people.
Yeah, well, the general idea was the Swiss system, which of course was derived for chess, produces a final ranked result which is generally acceptable after the same number of games that you would have played to run an elimination final.
Yep.
So with, say, 16 teams, you get it all done and dusted in 4 games.
Yeah.
Up to 32 teams, you get it all done and dusted in 5 games.
Yep.
But there's a whole series of rules that are organised within a Swiss system. As someone rather nicely put it to me very recently, when you specify in a Swiss system the pairing rules, that is how you put teams together,
Yep.
you invariably break them.
Right.
You have to find other ways to get close to the pairing systems that can lead you down rabbit holes.
Yes.
And sometimes they fail.
Not everybody is happy with the Swiss system. I know a couple of people particularly that refuse to play because it's the Swiss system, because they say this is not pétanque. But you can play pétanque in a town square on a rough surface and just use drawing onto the ground to get the scores. As long as you can play and enjoy it, that's what I think.
I am told that in the next couple of weeks there will be what is called a deterministic solution, where there is only one solution that will be correct.
Excellent. Very pleased to hear that as an outcome, Peter. I think you've squared that up very well for me and the listener. Thank you, Peter.
Well, I do my best, as you know. And I must admit, most people, without too much hoo-ha, I think I was one person who got a bit excited at one stage, but I wasn't technically scoring. I was helping someone who was learning how to score and also playing at the same time. So at times I got more involved than I should have been.
All right, Peter. Look, thanks very much for your time today. I do appreciate that. I'll let you go now, Peter. Thanks very much, and look forward to catching you up on the piece in the future. Cheers.
Thank you, Rex. Bye.
Here's one on rules and clarity. Throwing the jack. The team to throw the jack is allowed one throw of the jack. If a throw is invalid, the opponents are permitted to move the circle back on the line of play of the previous end before placing the jack by hand, not thrown, at a valid distance of this choice. If in doubt, the umpire should be called. If the placement of the jack is invalid, then that team wins a yellow card and places the jack again. Oh yes, the jack when it's first thrown can be on the line as long as the base of the jack is inside, then it is valid. If the jack is moved later in the game and lands on the line and the base is outside, it's still valid. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed being with us today. Please look up How to Learn with a Champion. Make sure it's the right one. Otherwise, we'll expect some cakes through the post. And congratulations to those teams in Subiaco, where Australia was victorious over New Zealand. Think of your swing and don't forget to relax. And thank goodness we're not over in Montmartre where they're going to tear that place down. All right, throw the jack correctly or place it correctly. Have a good day. We'll see you at the next one. Cheers.
You're a good player, Max.